Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. This one is a little bit different. This was a pre-recorded interview and it's quite heavily edited. I did it recently with Steph, where she came on to talk about her experience back in the 80s as a young girl, along with her mother and her sister. We've got testimony from them both as well. So I hope you enjoy the video and thanks for watching.
So pretty much back in about 1985, I was a little girl and I was old enough to know the difference between what a helicopter, an airplane was, even a stealth bomber. My family has been in the aerospace business since about 1945. That's when we had established our business. So we had military contracts. I mean, I was surrounded by images of airplanes and little kind of like 3D images of these crafts. So I was very familiar at a young age. And that's why when what happened to us happened, I think that something really resonated with me while I was seeing this situation unfold, that I knew that it was different. And it has been some time, but I did have some time to really think about this and really understand, hey, look, this is something that needs to be discussed and told. And you can't just hold on to this information, especially while there's three of us that are still living that were in the vehicle while this had occurred. My brother has passed in about 2018, but there were four of us that this did happen to. So yeah, thank you for allowing me to share this, and hopefully it'll bring forth more people who may have been afraid to talk about it. It's something that's happening, and as more information continues to unfold from the military, and being played on television, is giving a little bit more validity to the subject, and it's not so much of a novelty any longer. And that's what really brought me here too. I thought, wow, there's other people that really get this. They understand what's happening. It's real. It's like, it's a trip. So yeah. So pretty much we were at our grandparents' home. They live at the bottom of Idlewild, California. It was, at the time, it was a little city called Val Vista. They were backed up to a ravine. So we had a mountainside right behind us, just beautiful landscape. And, we had orange trees and lemon trees and all of these, it was just like our fun little adventure place to go to. And we had dinner that evening. And as we were leaving, we have a huge gate that we had to close. So this came to mind recently, where I'm thinking we actually had to take our time to walk over to the gate, go ahead and close it, say our waves and our goodbyes to our grandma. And as soon as we got in the car and got buckled up into this, big boat of a Cadillac at the time, super cozy car by all means. My sister and I were sitting in the back of the car, my mom driving, of course, and my brother in the passenger. We had turned right onto the highway, and us going through that motion of closing the gate and doing our goodbyes really came into the back of my mind, where I'm going, as soon as we left, this object did appear behind us. Now, as a kid, I initially was thinking it's a helicopter, because that's what I had grown up seeing. Now, and I was very young, so that's what I had just connected. My mom driving, as she describes it, this vantage point of hers was in her rearview mirror on the driver's side. So she saw an image of the bottom of this craft. And I think that's where she established this depth to it. She describes it almost as like a bottom of a boat, but with no lines. So just very smooth texture and somewhat of a craft. So I somewhat remember that, but that wasn't the main part that I recall. So it's like, as things start to, we start to talk about this more, and I'm trying to dig up information when the time is right, it does bring up a little bit of a memory. And I'm may go into regression eventually one day when I'm ready. So, but we had turned right onto the highway. My mom recognized that something was in the air behind us, and she turned onto a street that would parallel the ravine. And you may show images as I'm describing this. So we're literally along a riverbed. We, from what I saw in the back seat, was first off, my mom was starting to freak out. Okay. She's like, there's something in the air behind us. It's very close. It was just over, I would say, 100 yards away. And maybe 200 yards away. So very close in proximity, in comparison to seeing it, say, way far out in the distance and just say an orb in the sky. This was hovering. So while we're along this ravine here, my mom starts freaking out. There's something behind us. What is it? Stephanie, look at it. My sister is crouched next to me, afraid. Mind you, she's 2 years older, which makes sense that she would be afraid because she could recognize danger, I think. I was curious. I was just a curious kid in general. And being young, I don't think I could really connect the danger aspect of what this was. So we must have taken off our seatbelts, turned around in the back of the car, and I do recall both of our arms were almost up on the back seat, peering out. Now, as my mom is frantic, I mean, she probably was flailing her arms, and I mean, I was trying to listen to what she was directing me to do as a kid. You listen to your mom. She said, Stephanie, look at it. And I did look at it. It was a very short instance of what I had, tried to soak up, and it was not a helicopter. There were no blades. It was hovering. There, to me, I felt like I heard a bit of a sound, whereas my sister and my mother said no sound. I heard something that I would describe as a whirring sound. Now, if that rings true to anybody else that may have witnessed something such as that, it might make sense somewhere. But I do, for some reason, recall that. Don't know what it was. I saw no blades. All I saw was like the bottom almost of like a ship. What it felt like is like the bottom, if you would be at the vantage point of the bottom of a ship, and smooth and like a dark gunmetal gray, like dark. It was dark. So something else had popped into my brain where I'm going, oh my gosh, this happened. Before the object flashed away and zipped wherever it zipped to, I do feel that I recall a flash. That is something new that I realized. And I'm going, I think that this actually, there was a flash and it was boom and it was gone. Now, I feel like I'm kind of chopping this up right now also because it's like, it's a lot, you're thinking about all these things that happen. But there's a point where my mom had stopped the car. And I sent you a little video blip of her slamming on the brakes of the car because I felt like I should take advantage of her talking about it. And I said, okay, let's videotape this. How did it feel? How hard did you slam on the brakes? And that's when she slammed on the brakes. So when we stopped, the object also at the same exact instance stopped. There was no flow of it pushing and stopping, such as a helicopter. I have flown in a helicopter before in Kauai. I know the feeling of that maneuvering through. There's no way you can actually abruptly stop a helicopter. No way. So that is just something that, it knocks on the back of your brain going, well, why did this happen? Why did this happen? So when we stopped, it stopped. I recall an instance where we backed up and it backed up, as very similar to the technology of a Tesla car. I'm sure you've driven in one before, or seen, plenty of people have seen them. I've test driven it a couple of times, and they have that technology where they recognize, like their cognitive behavior is, if I see something, I move with it.
Yeah.
That was just a trip. I mean, I hope this information lands in the proper hands to where we can actually establish what's going on here. So yeah, that happened, and that was in the 80s. Being that we came from a military or aerospace background, we had military contracts with McDonnell Douglas, Boeing, Northrop, Hughes, you name it. We knew who to call. So as soon as she got home, she was going to call the FAA, and then she was directed to call March Air Force Base. March Air Force Base was about, I would say, 30, 40 miles from where we were located. So that would be the
Right.
place to call. There's also 29 Palms. So that's who we were directed to call. Now, if someone, say Sean from Witness Citizen, can contact them and get these documents, I know he's really great at digging up information. I mean, we would love to see that log. There's got to be a phone log of her phone call. Is there an audio recording? Probably not, but there could be that still on file. So hey,
Yeah.
Sean, if you're listening, if you see this, March Air Force Base, okay?
So next up, we got Steph's mom on the phone, and she gave us her testimony. Apologies if the sound's not quite right. I'm not the best editor, so I probably couldn't get the levels correct. But this is Steph's mom giving her testimony.
I don't know of any. I have my mom on the phone right now, and she is ready to talk about it. So why don't she's ready? Like let's chime in. So, mom, you want to go ahead and talk to the UFO community about what happened to us back in 1985-ish?
Of course, I'd love to.
Okay, the stand is yours. Go for it.
Well, hello, Vinny. Hi, Stephanie, and thank you for this nice introduction. And every time I think about what happened to us, my three little children, and I wasn't much older than that. I was like, I don't know, 30 or something like that. But we did see a UFO. This is for real. For real, no joke. Won't get into all the little details right now, but we were out in Hemet, California, off of Highway 74. Actually, it was called Val Vista at that time. And we were having a good time at my parents' house, and we were going to take off. It was like really dark. I remember that. I'm like recounting all this every time I do it. It's like, it's unbelievable, but it was true. So we had to drive a little bit on this like land of my parents to get to the highway, maybe like a short block, and lock the gate. All my kids were in the car. I think it was warm summer. We might have been wearing our bathing suits. My two daughters were in the rear of our 79 bronze Cadillac that was given to me by my dad. But as soon as we were going to take off on Highway 74 west, I'm always looking. I'm like, no cars. But immediately I saw this triangle, dark, like black, could have been black or dark gray, triangle shape, and it had white soft lights on each of the triangle, two in the back, one in the front. And right away I thought, what in the heck? I'm like, this is not from here. I lived most of my life, and all of my life as a kid, in aviation, aerospace, making aircraft parts. So it was just, I knew this was not happening. So I it was really dark. There was no cars out, and I'm like, this thing is following us. It was kind of low. And I remember turning on a street to try to avoid this thing following us on a straight Highway 74. And I turned on a street called Grant towards the riverbed, and that would be like northeast to take a side road. And by that time, I'm like, okay, this thing turned, it's following us. And it was just like hovering. It made no noise. I heard no noise at all. And I thought, oh, what am I going to do? I've got like 2-3 miles to drive home. And so I abruptly stopped on the side dirt road. There's nothing out there in Hammett. Well, it was actually called Val Vista at that time. And I told my girls, and I was kind of like yelling, I said, look and see what this is. I'm like, it wouldn't go away. I turned my headlights off. I didn't turn the engine off. And I thought, oh, gee, I got to get my 3 kids home. This is surreal. And it was like it happened so quickly. So I just, are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. I wasn't sure if he'll hung up again. My son was sitting in the front seat, and he wanted to get out of the car. And I was like, no, don't. No, I yelled at him. And I asked Stephanie to look back and see what this was. I asked Janelle to look back, but that was the older sister. She didn't seem to want to, but Stephanie did. And I figured, okay, this seconds count. I just have to turn my headlights back on. And I was like speeding home on this little side street. I think, I don't know, maybe 55 miles an hour. That's pretty fast. You should only be like going maybe like 30, 35. And as I decided just to speed off, this object it went over like the riverbed in the mountain. It just, you could not even have a split second to think about what happened. It just like went away. So I'm just like going home, and I've probably got home, I don't know, a few minutes, pulled the driveway in, pulled my car in, and got the kids into the house. And I thought, well, I got to call somebody. This is not from Earth. I didn't think so. And so I thought my first thing was thinking of the police, and then March Air Force Base. And since March Air Force Base was close, and I thought, well, maybe it was something from March Air Force Base. I didn't know. So I made a phone call to March Air Force Base, and I did speak with somebody, and I wrote it down on a piece of paper. I put it in a phone book of mine. I don't know where this paper is, what happened, but they never called me back. March Air Force Base never called me back. I don't know whatever happened. It was just, but the only thing that is now happening is other people are seeing exactly what I saw. So it's like, that's about it. And I'm like, I know Stephanie, my daughter, she witnessed me making these phone calls so frantically. And I'm kind of like frantic now, just recounting it. It's like, it really happened. And my son, who's passed away, we all had seen this. Never seen it again. That was it. So that's my story. I'm sure I can think of some more details, but being in the aerospace business, it was just, something I thought, well, maybe it was something I just didn't know about. Yeah. No, it's not from Earth. Not that I know of. So that's my story. Thank you. that's about it for now.
Yeah. And well, I do want to have you expound on one detail also. And I
All
also
right.
just want to say I'm not really fond of the term story because it's an incident that occurred. But I get
Oh, it is. Exactly.
we
Yes.
understand what you're trying to describe. So it is an incident that had occurred. I just want to make that clear. And we
Yes.
get it, Mom. We get it. So now, will you describe to us how the object actually mimicked our movement? Because I don't believe you had
Oh, yeah, I
included.
forgot about that. Yes, thank you for reminding me. When I pulled off on the side road, Grant, and stopped, I did move forward and back, and it did the same thing. I was like, okay, there's something that is keeping an eye on us, but also, if I was not in aerospace working with my brothers and just the family, I mean, it was always on our mind. We like the stars, what's going on out there, but never in my life would I think that I would see something like that.
Yeah.
So yes, it did. I tried to make this thing go away. That's why I was thinking. I couldn't believe it at my young age, thinking about seeing if this thing is going to go away. And it was just what I did. And I moved forward, moved back. I can't remember are you there yet?
Yeah, we're still with you. So,
Okay.
and basically what you're trying to tell us is about how frightened you were when this was happening. You were trying to protect your kids,
Yeah.
which that's what a motherly instinct would do. Like your mama bear would kick in and you'd think, well, how do I scare this thing? And I do recall you turning the headlights off. And I don't recall if you turned the car off entirely, but you were
No, I
trying
didn't.
to almost hide from it.
No, I did not turn the engine off because
Okay.
I thought, well, maybe my engine might not start back up, so I didn't want to be doing something like that. So I'm sure
Okay.
my red taillights would have shown.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. So, and then also remember when we left the house, you had initially seen this object in your driver's side mirror on the left side behind us.
That's right. I saw it right away because I'm so looking on the highway, right, left. It's dark, pitch black. I'm telling you, there was no cars out. I saw it immediately. I would say my immediately probably was maybe less than 5 seconds because
Yeah.
where Grandpa and Grandma lived, and Grandpa had passed away then, but
Yeah.
we were right by the hills, so cars are coming down from San Bernardino National Forest fast, and you can't just pull out. I was very, very cautious, and I thought, well, okay, I can still remember when I looked, and I looked up. I looked in my rearview mirror, my side.
The side, yeah.
Door,
Yeah.
and I didn't have to take a double take. I knew this. I think it was following us right away. I was it just was kind of. I'm frightened from it, but I'm glad it's over. But I knew me speeding out, going west. There wasn't any cars out on this highway.
Yeah.
There's nobody.
Yeah.
No. That's in the mid '80s, and I'm there's nobody that's doing that. We were always every weekend we were going over swimming, having barbecue or whatever, and my kids didn't ever want to go back home. But
we did that night.
Yes,
we did.
We did a lot of that, yes. But it was a straight path for me to get to, or for us to get back home. But I thought, for me to speed my car and go fast west was pointless because that's just like a beeline for whatever's following me. And I figured, okay, it doesn't know these side streets probably. So
Right, Mom.
I knew to take a quick side street. I didn't really want to because it's not exactly. It was kind of out in the boondocks. Yeah, I didn't want to take my 3 kids. Just.
Mom. Exactly. And you did the right thing. You did what most parents would do. You would try to beeline and get the F out, or whatever you want to say. That's probably crossed your mind. Get me out of this location. I am being followed by something, and we don't know what it was. So
I wasn't, I don't know if I was afraid. I was more frightened that I had my 3 children in the car. This is happening to my kids.
yeah. So do you, yes, exactly. Now, you did mention in another conversation that we had about not seeing, well, let me ask you the question. I don't want to put anything in your mouth.
Okay, yes, okay, please.
Do you recall any propulsion system, any blades, anything like such as that?
No, there wasn't any. The only thing that it looked like was there was a little depth to it. It was a solid triangle with. I didn't see any other. It looked like it's hard to know exactly, but it wasn't. It wasn't really big and it wasn't small. I'm thinking maybe. Shoot, I'm just kind of guessing here. Oh goodness, it's hard to tell. It was like low, but maybe I don't know. It was kind of small. I'm trying to give you like a dimension here, maybe.
Like size of a diesel truck, a diesel container.
Yeah. Maybe a container, but it was a triangle shape.
Okay, that's a good perspective for people to kind of place into their brains. So, now another question: do you recall any sound?
No. Can you hear me?
And it was like mostly black. It could have been like it could have been like light black. It was mostly black. There was no lines or anything on it.
Next up, we have Steph's sister. She recorded this for Steph a while back, and this is the first time it's been played anywhere. So this is the testimony from Steph's sister.
My account of what I'm sure was a UFO, or definitely an unidentified flying object. Approximately 1985, I was about 8 years old, and my sister Stephanie and I were in the backseat of my mom's Cadillac, which was copper color. I'll never forget it. A very long 4-door Cadillac. I don't remember the model, but definitely kind of older. I guess maybe older in the sense that an older person would drive it due to the style, but by no means was it like a beaten up vehicle. So it was one evening that me and my siblings and my mom, we were leaving our grandparents' house in Hemet, California, and our grandparents' house was on a riverbed, so literally butts up against the mountainside, and there's like, it goes down like into the riverbed. There was like, I don't know, well, their house was on, I guess, the edge of it, right? The edge of the mountainscape there. And we used to go to our grandparents' house for dinner quite often, or just hanging out. And this one particular evening, it was just my mom, my brother Brian, my sister Stephanie, and myself. And we left our grandparents' house. It was pitch black outside. So it, it was definitely nighttime. And there's a little back road that would go along the riverbed. So it wasn't like a main road. It was kind of, well, we would call it a back road, right? So when we were approaching kind of a mobile home park area, my mom said that she saw a bright light in the back of her rearview mirror. And she stopped. She's like, "What is that?" And my sister Stephanie and I, we were sitting in the back seat, and like little girls do, we take our, seatbelt off and then turn around really quick and look out the back window. And there was this round object with a bright light and no sound whatsoever, just hovering over the riverbed. And I don't know if my brother Brian turned around because he was sitting in the front and had his seatbelt on. So I don't know if he had the chance to turn around easily, like how my sister and I did. And my mom had stopped the car, and it was just hovering literally above the riverbed. And we were staring at it, wondering, what was it? Then my mom pulled forward a little bit, and then it moved forward a little bit. And then it just, we stopped, and then it stopped, and it just kept hovering, and there was no sound, completely quiet. And then my mom moved forward again, and then it moved forward. So it was kind of like mimicking our movement. Bright light, but it didn't light up the entire riverbed. It was just a solid, stationary white light, and there was no sound. I don't remember hearing or seeing any kind of blades or anything like that, but like helicopter blades. But when we moved forward, it moved forward. When it stopped, or when we stopped, it stopped. And I'll never forget this encounter. I can still vividly see it in my memory, and I know for a fact I saw it. My sister saw it, my mom saw it, and by the third time my mom pulled forward and we didn't know what it was, she was like, "We're getting out of here." And we left. But I'll never forget that evening. I'll never forget that moment. I can still see it in my mind. And I know my sister saw it too, and she remembers it. 1985 sounds about right. That would have made me 8 years old. And I know I was about that age, and then Stephanie's just a tad younger than me. So she would definitely remember it as well. But yeah, it basically, whatever it was, it mimicked our movement, and it didn't shy away from us at all. It just was like hovering there. It was really weird. So yeah, just hovering there, bright light, no sound, mimicked our movement, and that was about it. So yeah, I'll never forget it. I know it happened. I know it was real. And that's it. Thank you.
So let's talk about your involvement with the community now, as far as UAP Experiencers, which is your online platform through social media channels. Just give us a little breakdown of like where that came from. What made you take that step to put yourself out there now, if you don't mind.
Sure. I mean, absolutely. I would love to share that. We would like more people to come forth. And as we do this, that's just exactly what's occurring. So back in 2021, about the same time that I had discovered your platform, I decided that because my family and I had such a very close experience with a UAP, well, why don't I begin a platform that would actually serve this community? And I feel like there just can't be enough of that. Somebody and the right person will find your platform. There's so many different avenues to go with this. So, mine might speak to somebody else that doesn't speak to a different platform. So that's where UAP Experiencers was born. And it's been so fulfilling because I feel that people are actually getting some sort of this like therapeutic type feeling from getting to talk about it, being heard, just going through the motions of what happened to you. It was an incident. It is an event that occurred that is not typical. So to have that information kept inside of you, it's not healthy. And that's where this UAP Experiencers was born. And gosh, it's been awesome. I mean, the people that I've been meeting through the community, we're all in this same, topic together. Everybody has a piece to the puzzle. Somebody might bring one little iota of information forth that could bring more insight to what is occurring in our skies. So yeah, I'm super excited. We're going to continue this journey.
Before I let you go, please tell everyone where they can find you.
All right, everybody, UAP Experiencers all across the board, with the exception of Instagram. There's an _ UAP _ Experiencers. And yes, I would be honored and pleased to share any form of, event that had occurred in your life. It could have been even a submergible object, that's coming forth more into the forefront as well, which is extremely exciting. So do not be afraid. We are here to listen, and that's the most important thing.
Absolutely. I will put all of your links in the description below as well. So listen, Steph, thank you so much for joining me. I do really feel honored to have heard that story. And I really felt it as well. Like hearing from 3 members of one family about the same experience is quite rare. So that was really a really standout thing for me. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So for now, everyone, we will see you soon. Take care. Thank you for tuning in. Goodbye.
Bye, guys.